Greetings. The episode of 33 North 96 West that you are about to hear or see is actually the second in a two-part episode. So, of course, you're welcome to just tune into this episode as a standalone. Or, if you would like, we recommend clicking back to the previous episode and listening to that one first so that you get the benefit of the full conversation. Okay, here we go. What I think you're speaking to, Terry, is the potential of the transformation that we're experiencing now, even though it is definitely impacting us on this dense 3D level. But there are some fundamental structural shifts and changes behind the scenes in the matrix of creation that we are now experiencing. How's that for a way to express that?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Now, so if all this sounds like science fiction to you, it's because maybe our movies have been prophetic lately. But how have we developed our frame of reference for what may be?
Based off of experience, an interpretation of experience.
What has been.
What has been.
Right? So I want everybody to search their hearts and their intuition and ask yourself, is the only thing that's possible what I have known prior? I mean, really?
Excuse me, as my neck is going crazy.
Yeah.
Tingly.
Because that's essentially what we would be saying. Nothing is possible except what we have already known.
My answer, of course, is no. And I want to add to your question, that right there is what creates and holds us in the pattern of what has been. The very idea of us perhaps being, as we might interpret this in just basic 3D terms, wrong, it feels very annihilating. And I wanted to talk about that. It can feel very annihilating to an individual as well as to the species to think we are completely surrendering all we ever knew. I mean, that is actually a visceral, tactile experience.
Brilliant. So let's stay there in that tactile, grounded place, and let's answer the question, what can we do within ourselves as we allow, accept, and embrace this change? What are the tools? Like, if we can make it real, I'll just throw one idea out to begin this aspect of the conversation. How about within your own claims of identity, try to become more elastic? Is that something?
Yes, I'm laughing at the visual and analogy coming into me. If I were an acorn, which an acorn is such a beautiful aspect of nature, would I ask myself, is there perhaps something else I could be? I could explore.
And does the acorn try to resist becoming the oak tree?
Or does the acorn get very excited and say, wow, this cracking open? Or does the chrysalis ask itself, wow, what am I going to become? And my invitation, and I'm not speaking this from a place of not having experienced it. How many times have I asked myself, what could I be if I allow this cracking open?
Mm-hmm.
Do I choose to make it a more simplistic black and white decision? Not that decisions are, but do I choose? They actually are. We're the ones that bring in a lot of the gray. But having said that, do I choose what has been to always be? Or do I choose to explore other possibilities?
Brilliant. So sticking with the analogy of the acorn and then reconnecting it to my question about elasticity. So if the acorn is clinging to its identity as acorn, and that is how it has known its safety, and it is in denial of the potential of becoming the oak tree, that's going to be more painful than if the acorn can suspend its claim of identity, of being this specific thing that cannot change, that is not malleable. So in all aspects and all levels of life, it's kind of been the way for human beings to claim ideas as identity, and by claiming them, we codify them and we make them into form. And I just want to make this really real. My name is Jared. I am a man. I am a designer. I am an actor. I am a good person. I am 39 years old. I am a Taurus rising, a Gemini moon, and Aquarius ascendant. I am an INFJ. I am these things, and I may not be anything other. You see, that's a solid, firm claim of identity, all of those things.
And I would like to also add characteristics. Do we say, well, this is how I visually appeared at the age of 20. It should always be so. Just throwing out another...
I used to be physically attractive, and so I don't know how to know myself if I'm not that. Right? Right. My hair used to be blonde,
this
but
color, and then
now it's this, you know. And then also, I am a kind person, or I am arrogant, or I am loving, or like there are all these different ways of claiming identity. Mm-hmm. And the more codified and solid those things become, the more challenging you find transition to be. So, how about this idea? I know who I am, and I am in change. Mm-hmm. And that's it.
Absolutely. I am energy, ever evolving, ever expanding, ever ascending. Yeah.
And then going back to what I said earlier, there is an eternal aspect of you, an essence of you. I can use words like soul or causal body. We're talking about the life of you beyond this incarnation and beyond this idea of linear time that we're now experiencing. So a lot of those claims that I expressed a moment ago have to do specifically with this experience. But I'm pretty sure I've been a woman a lot. I'm pretty sure I have lots of feminine qualities in me now. But if I claim my masculinity at the denial of my femininity, that means I'm only living as part of a person even now. So this is great.
Maybe you were an acorn.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a suggestion that you've been everything.
Yeah.
Or you have been or you will be. Ultimately, in order for a soul to become complete, you have had every experience. The air, you've been the air, you've been the neurons, you've been the stone, the rock, the water, the tree, all of it. It's just that right now you're here in this place as this. So there's something to be said for cultivating a relationship with the eternal aspect of who you are. and that being a guide or serving you in changing times. And I think we can speak to it. I feel, I intuit that there's a large portion of our fellows that for whatever reason feel alienated from that language, from this part of our experience. Like those of us who say, I'm not spiritual. I don't believe in anything beyond what you can prove with scientific language, with the five senses. Like, that's part of the character of the past age, is that we've kind of gotten into this place where I'm going to use the word we have forgotten, so that then we can talk about remembering. There is an aspect of you that has always been and will always be.
So I have several things playing through. One is to touch base on the science. Science is not separate from spirituality, and spirituality is not separate from science. I just wanted to bring those points up.
Thank you.
Physics and quantum physics are interwoven.
And biology.
And it is so interwoven. And what I heard recently, the way it was worded, is it was such a disservice to humanity when humanity chose to try to separate the two.
Yeah.
And become opposing points, if you will. So that felt important to add there. Yes.
That's a fractal representation of the core wound of humanity, period.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, we claimed separation.
Yes.
At every level that you could even imagine that claim could happen. We claimed it. Separation from each other. Separation from the source of all things.
Mm-hmm.
We claimed it so we could learn through it. And now we have. But we're still claiming it because that's what we do. We have these experiences of separation, and they traumatize us, and then we kind of build walls around our hearts, and then we start avoiding, and then we start recreating.
So another thing that was going through when you were speaking is that it is in the thinking, and the thinking it again and again, belief, which becomes a belief, that we would like to have an experience other than what we are having. That is where the resistance comes in. So we were to go back to talking about, and I want to tie that back to what we're discussing now, but to talk about that we are change. We are malleable. We are energy in motion.
Mm-hmm.
So the suffering, the pain, the replay of the stories and trauma and so forth comes from like an underlying point of that is that we are defining or thinking that needs to be something other than what it was or what it is. And that is when we really put on the brakes of resistance. And when we are in that space, we are in separation. We're in separateness consciousness. And again, if we can kind of come out to that broader view, we are engaged in that. We are having that experience. We are remembering all of that. But if we can come out to that broader view as a witness and say, okay, wait, I am also a spiritual being. I am also divine. I am also of source, an aspect of source, a fractal of source. And, on and on and on. When we can do both, I really do see that is where true expansion and ascension happens. It's that point. And that point is not of science, and that point is not of esoteric. That point is both. Mm-hmm. It is the marrying and the combination of all. It is not separate. speaking to that can feel a little more challenging at times to articulate, but it really is available to all of us. It's available to all of us to remember we are the engager and the witness or the observer.
Follow me for a moment. Am I separate from, am I separate from the idea of peace?
No, you.
Am I separate from the idea of war?
No.
Am I separate from the idea of abundance?
No.
Am I separate from the idea of lack?
No.
Am I separate from the source of all things?
No.
Is the bigot separate from the source of all things?
No. Is it a choice point?
Do I have to endow my experience of lack with meaning?
No.
Do I have to continue to choose to learn through the experience of lack?
No.
Am I required to participate in the persecution of my fellows?
No.
May I choose to participate in the persecution of my fellows?
Yes.
May I choose to persecute people for persecuting my fellows?
Yes.
May I choose to offer love and affection to all my fellows?
Yes.
May I choose to recognize myself as an independent, autonomous being separate from everything?
Yes.
May I choose to recognize myself as an aspect of the body of humanity that is separate but a part of the larger body?
Yes.
Yeah. May I choose to understand humanity as citizens of one light?
Yes.
This seems so simple, Terri. We talk ourselves into this beautiful, simple place. Why can't everyone come here?
So I want to add that my no's and my yeses are what is resonance and truth for me.
And you're not persecuting anyone else for making a different choice.
Absolutely. And I don't mean by saying yes to some of those questions, that is my choice point. I am saying I have the privilege of choice and to exercise that choice. And does it need to look like Jared's answers to the exact same questions? It does not.
May you choose to make your choices based upon your thoughts.
Yes.
May you choose to make your decisions based upon your emotions.
Yes.
May you choose to make your decisions based upon your opinions.
Yes.
May you choose to make your decisions based upon your intuition.
Yes.
May you choose to make your decisions based upon your knowing.
Yes.
Are all of those things different in your experience?
Yes. And I extend the invitation to both of us. I feel it would be a good place to make a statement that maybe kind of wraps up our truth around this.
Okay. What a challenge.
I know. It just popped in. Now I have to meet that challenge, right? I don't have to. I choose to meet that challenge. Excuse me, I can't talk. I choose to meet that challenge. Through my evolution in this lifetime and the memories and remembering the experiences, the interpretations, the perspectives, in that true evolution, expansion, and ascension of all of who and what I am, I choose and continue to choose to drop into what I call center. I drop into my heart. No matter what preceded that, no matter what thought, no matter what opinion, no matter what perspective, rather than reacting to that, I drop into my heart. And then I allow that to expand up and down my full center, meaning all of my energy centers. I don't exclude the instinct, the intuitive gut feeling. I don't exclude the physical sensations that might be happening in my body. I include it all. And when this practice is done, it becomes part of your cellular memory. It becomes a neural pathway as an opportunity of choice point in your conscious awareness. And I ask, what is resonance for me? What is truth for me? I choose to be both human. I made that choice. I honor that choice. And I am actually very, very grateful for that choice. And I know that I am divine. I am of source, as source incarnate. And that by nature of honoring myself and all of who and what that is, known or unknown, I am energetically inviting that to ripple out to all of humanity, to all of Gaia, to all of Mother Earth. That therein lies why I exercise my power of choice, my freedom of choice, my privilege of choice.
Because you know who you are, you know who others are as well.
Yes. And I honor it all.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that invitation dropping down into me.
You're very welcome. It was beautiful, and I
experience.
resonate with everything that you expressed. I don't really know if I have much that I would add to that. And I think I'm going to express some things that are a reiteration of it, just slightly different language. And I think, in case you haven't noticed, you, the participant, the listener, the co-creator, we're always looking for or hoping to receive or trusting that we will receive language to express ideas that cannot be spoken. But this is a podcast. And silence can communicate, but it's fun to talk. So here we are. How about this idea? Everything is of God, or nothing is. Everything. Every human being, every idea, every thought, every emotion, every plant, every mineral, every archangel, every ascended master, every universe, every dimension, everything. And this is the idea of the word monad. Some of you in a spiritual community may hear the words monadic body or the monad. That word means the one. So when we're talking about levels of consciousness, that is the top, okay? You arrive at the one, and we're all the one. Question is, how many of us are able to face our fears and bring things into the light and commit ourselves toward the realization, the actualization of the higher frequency energies into our current experience? So then we can use language like, I am in alignment and reception to the source of all things. My physical body is a vessel for the realization of the divine. These phrases are so full and so rich to the one who has eyes to see, who you see, like, I don't know, maybe I heard phrases like that when I was a kid, but to really know it, not to think it, not to have the opinion of it, not to have an emotional response to the idea. I mean, I know. And actually, if you just think, you can think about this in a logical, I guess logic is the right word. Like, question, is there a source to all things? Well, now break those words down. All things, source. Is there a... So if you can say there is no source of all the things, well, then ask yourself, well, where did these things come from? Well, they just are. Have they always been? Well, yeah, I guess they have. Have they been in different forms? Yes, the acorn was once a tree. Like, you can't negate. There's a source of all things. Is it one source or is it multiple sources? Do we have any logic to support that there are multiple sources to all things?
I was trying to recall your phrase earlier, which is again so brilliant, and my brain has not planted it in there yet. But sometimes the very effort of defining that definitely creates a hang up, so to speak, for us.
Sure.
You know, needing, seeking, and feeling and desiring and needing for it to be a very clear-cut, defined.
And the word define, well, we're talking, it's definitely limiting. Mm-hmm. To define is to limit. Yeah. Okay. To give verbal form is to limit. But all of the, like, even the idea of verbal language is of the mind. Like, so when you're trying to define the vastness of the source of all things, good luck.
Well, as Jared was saying that, just to give everyone a visual, my eyes are kind of rolling back in my head and my head's bobbing, and I'm in it.
Yeah.
As it. I did not have words. I did not have anything but allowing that energy to move through me, and it just basically like I said, words, it makes me feel everything and nothing all at the same time.
Because if the source of creation is all things, it is everything and it is nothing. Both of those things are included because everything is.
Yeah.
And so let me ask you this question. If something is too vast to be understood, can it still be known?
Yes. How?
Do we have to know how?
No. I just felt like that's a question, a very common question. For me, it's a feeling, it's a knowing, it's a connection of feeling alignment and peace and resolve. And it doesn't come with more questions. Wow.
When you are knowing, there are no questions. Mm-hmm. That's big.
That's big.
Yeah.
And there is no defining, and there is no explaining. And that is how we can be in the space and the energy, in the energetics of humanity as a whole, without absorbing it in a way that takes away from who and what we are. Because we have a knowing, whether it's even fully conscious of who and what we are, so we can be that in the presence and energy of others without more questions and without explaining.
Yeah, I'm feeling like the period of the need to explain and justify is coming to an end.
I have to laugh because if you were a fly on the wall to hear our pre-production conversations, this is what we talk about.
Yeah.
It is just asking the questions and proposing answers in order to have this broadcast.
Yeah, we're literally bringing ourselves down into form, like to figure out,
helping each other ground it a little bit, right?
Uh-huh.
Because it's important.
Does this transition to you feel more like becoming more wise or becoming more innocent?
Both. I'm going to make a statement because wisdom to me is, I did have someone challenge this statement the other day. Wisdom is innate. Whereas their way of framing that is that wisdom is something you gain through knowledge and logic and learning. There is both, and there is an innate wisdom that comes with us.
I guess what I'll say in response to my own question is my experience is as I have more experience and remember more. So in ways you could say become more wise, but what it feels like to me is that as I become more wise, I become more innocent.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The Socratic paradox, the more I know, something
the
like
more
the
I
more
learn,
the more I learn, the less I know. Yeah.
So some of what we've said, obviously this is completely organic, off the cuff. We have no idea what we're going to say or do. But question for Terri: can the heart truly be corrupted?
No.
If there's corruption, it's something else. The heart is pure. Is there any human being who doesn't have a pure heart?
No.
In there somewhere. Is there any human being whose soul is not made of light?
No. Do we as humans always remember this?
Unfortunately not.
Right.
Well, I say unfortunately. I really don't. At one level, you can't even have a judgment of that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Having said that, when you said corrupt, there is this part of me that with every word spoken now checks in. Because you are not able to have language without polarity. And I do find that so important in our conversations to frame things various different ways and to articulate it in a way that can have maybe resonance with one and another way has resonance with another. Because again, as soon as we say the word corrupt, there is that separation of good and bad. So as Jared said, on one level, it all is of source. On another level, as one who has come here to be in this physical human vessel, have I experienced what I would interpret as corrupt? Absolutely. And will I continue to do so? Most likely. So I just wanted to add that. I like that you said that because I think it's important to remind us all, myself and everybody. I think it's important to just sit with for a moment. And I'm not asking you to take X amount of time, so to speak, but just sit with that idea of language is a dualistic polarity of expression. And it is a common way of communicating and expressing and having these conversations.
And I'll add, or maybe I'm not adding, I'm just saying it in a different way, kind of like you just said, but all language carries charge.
Mm-hmm.
And generally, the charge associated with certain words and even letters and sounds, the frequency of those charges, like it's also a collective agreement, like time. So the more of us who have a certain meaning or charge around a particular word, and we're endowing that word with that meaning, it's giving it more energy and more charge. But those things are also malleable. Mm-hmm. So, see, we've said this in every episode. We are not solid, impermeable, intractable, unchanging structures as human beings. We are energetic forms, and we are in an energetic landscape, and we are not distinct from it.
And another thing to reiterate from previous episodes and today is that basically this feels like a invitation or there's a different word. An extension to you to perhaps consider how you endow your communication and your expression. And to go deeper or further is to remember that it is also a choice.
Yeah. And you are not required to respond. You're not required to react, for sure. But sometimes the answer is to not speak.
May I give an example?
Sure.
Let's just give a real-time example. Jared and I have discussed on many occasions that my word learning has become remembering. In other words, reminding myself and others that this is all within me. Just put it that way. This is all already within me. It's all already within you. Now, is it in my conscious awareness at all times or at any given point? Not necessarily. So bringing something from the unconscious through the subconscious and into the conscious and awareness is what I mean when I say remembering. It is also what many people mean when they say I am learning. You can look at those as synonyms. Now, in conversation with Jared, I can express what I just expressed and not feel like me saying it in a different way, as we do on this channel, is a challenge or a disrespect or disregard for a different way of it being said. But in daily conversation, I'm standing at a checkout counter and somebody's talking to me about, hey, I'm learning. I don't necessarily make that choice that I need to express, no, let's not use that word. and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that word because I used it yesterday in referring to something I was becoming newly aware of. Okay. So I just felt it was important. I love to share these real-time examples. You know, a lady says to me in the grocery store line, I'm new here and I'm learning. There is absolutely nothing within me that even has a thought that I would like to challenge her vocabulary. Nor when I'm doing it with Jared, am I challenging his vocabulary. Even at times as a human, it might feel that way because I get excitable and I get passionate about it, but I'm not challenging. it goes back to when Jared was talking about that whole expansion. So I love that we can give ourselves permission to do what we're discussing today, to remember, hey, I might want to reframe this, because if at any point in time, on the spiral of time, I had made an association with learning limiting me in my growth and expansion, then I had a choice point of reframing that for myself, for my future expansion. It did not mean that that word became a bad word overnight. It did not mean that that was no longer, I cannot have this conversation with you if you choose to use that word. So I wanted to make it real time in that when you are in a space, in whatever way, shape, or form that comes, where you can have open, beautiful dialogue with others, we glean more insight of how we can articulate and use language, even though it is a dualistic polarity concept and expression. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And that really, truly is what brought us together here for this broadcast. These broadcasts, plural, is to extend invitations to consider there being something other than what has been.
Yeah.
Thank you for allowing that to move through me.
Yeah. This is not self-help. This is self-realization.
Yes.
And if the idea of your soul coming to learn things carries a negative charge for you, then find some other language. And your soul coming to remember itself is maybe the perfect other language, or maybe you have your own language.
Mm-hmm.
But this is self-realization. It's not that you're broken and you need to be fixed. That dynamic doesn't work in this new paradigm. You've come to be realized.
Absolutely.
Is there anything left unsaid today?
To support what you just said, I was in a beautiful sound healing experience in Sedona with a beautiful soul in every capacity, beautiful human, beautiful soul. And she said, with so much humor, we were laughing hysterically as she said this. Oh, those days of needing to suffer and needing to fix it and needing to go through deep, radical, long-term healing. Of course, I'm paraphrasing, but those days, oh, we're so over that. And I'm just saying that in a humorous way to really support what Jared just said. She said, what we do now is we ask the question, what would be in support of this now moment in my evolution?
Yeah.
Whether that be a certain food, a connection with an animal, a tree, a walk, whatever, a walk. It doesn't matter. A song.
Expressing particular words.
Yes, it does. Yes. What brings me into this now moment of resonance in my evolution? It does not have to be what was.
No.
We truly have the freedom and the privilege. I love Jared's word, the privilege.
Yeah.
To allow that and to be that and experience that.
And it doesn't have to be heavy, but it's okay if it is.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever we claim is perfectly right.
It's amazing the things we can laugh at about ourselves and with ourselves that really are interpreted as very serious when we recognize it is both. You know, it can feel heavy.
It's serious and it's heavy when we claim that.
Yeah.
And it's light. And, you know, there's gravity and there's levity.
Yes.
And we learn through both. Sometimes we learn through one. Sometimes we learn through another. See, I said sometimes. Times.
Mm-hmm.
Sequence of one eternal moment after another into infinity. One moment, one moment, one moment, one moment, one moment. I love the question that you posed, that your friend posed. There's another question that works for me as well that I'll share. How do I best serve my higher purpose in this moment? How do I serve my higher purpose in this moment?
And that answer is within you.
Yes.
And you know it.
And only you.
Mm-hmm.
Only you.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So I have something that I want to express to everyone to close this out, unless you have more to express.
No.
This has been rich and delicious and lovely.
Yes.
What I would like to express on behalf of myself and Terri and us and the field is that you are so important and that we are grateful to you for being a part of this. And we are ripe and ready to receive your inspired questions and suggestions for things that we may contemplate together. So if you have a question or a thought, or even what you may perceive to be a criticism or an insult, we would like to welcome it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree with me, Terri?
I do.
Yes. So you may have noticed at the end of each episode, there's the email address where you can email, or you could just express your comment. If you're on YouTube or Facebook or where, just put the comment there and then we'll receive it. And I can foresee in the future a whole occasional episode where we just talk about answering questions. I would love that.
Me too. I feel it's right there on the horizon.
Yes. Okay. Thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next time. Next time. In the sequence of time.
In the sequence of time. Thank you, thank you, thank you.